Today we are back with another review, this time round with another Hi-Fi product with a name that has a string of alphabets, the EPZ Q5. Hello, if you're new to the channel and really like to listen to the latest reviews, do consider subscribing to support the audio cast. If you are already subscribed, you are a lovely person. Do like and drop a comment about your thoughts. We have the EPZ Q5 on show today that looks quite similar to another IM that a Romanian company makes. But if you look closely enough, it's just a center black hole bit that takes visual cues. Apart from that, the chassis is quite different and does not really have any sort of semblance. Anyways, to kick things off, we'll have an unboxing. For the price, the box of the Q5 is really quite big, simply bigger than what other brands offer in its price category. The sleeve proudly proclaims that the company was established in 2019. It's a rather basic sleeve that really does not say too much about the product. Tossing aside, we are then greeted with the main box, and this box isn't something that I have experienced at this price point, which is honestly quite a surprise. It's a center opening box where the contents are just pushed to the center of attention, just like the things goes where to push something to be the center of attention. It just reveals the IEMs right there in the center, and below that is a rather generic carrying case. Inside the earphone case are two types of ear tips, and EPZ was being rather generous when they decided to include ear tips that actually work pretty well, rather than e-waste. I rather like the both of them. The ones in black are smaller in size and are designed for you to shove them in your ears with a seal forming nearer to the bore. These are actually white bore ear tips, while the white ones are similar to the KB Years 07, which will have a regular profile. Inside it is also a SBC cable that is terminated to a MMCX termination, and a cleaning cloth is also included as well, which is honestly very nice. Build quality. The build quality of the EPZ Q5 is surprisingly good for what it's worth. It's a plastic chassis that isn't, now everybody say it with me, a custom universal shape. Gosh, I'm so bored of custom universal shapes. There is a nice piano gloss black for the main bits of the IEM. I cannot actually see any seams on the chassis itself. Quite a bit of post-processing work was done on the chassis to ensure that the quality of the shine and the lack of seams. At the center of the IM is the black hole looking port for the dynamic driver. I know what you guys are wondering, it does look like the swirl when you flush the toilet. Also, EPZ recently has released the white version of this earphone, making it really look like the porcelain, from which is the material that most toilet bowls are made from. The EPZ adopts the increasingly rarer MMCX termination, which means for those of you who like to tinker with cables, you have to buy new ones. The cable here, as mentioned, is made from SBC and isn't all that fancy, but it does the job quite well. Not too microphoning and overall quite comfortable without being tangly. The MMCX here is tight, which is great as most MMCX fail because of how spinny the MMCX is. EPZ clearly knows a thing or two. Also, the cable is terminated to 3.5 mm, so you have a reason to buy a third-party cable should you want to go balance. Fit. I found the Q5 to be really comfortable as it simply disappears in my ears. I also like the fit of the shorter and stubbier ear tips, and it just provides a really great seal. So next bit is sound. I'll just put a graph over here, so please pause the video if you want to look at the graph. And with that, let's move on. When it comes to sound, the Q5 is what some of you might call a V or U-shaped IEM. I found them rather natural sounding and will suit most genres quite well. Tone weight on the whole is average. The Q5 should be pleasing for most folks as it isn't offensive sounding on the whole. But I do find that the transients between notes to be average and not the fastest in the market, but certainly in line with other IEMs that is in its asking price. So this is a very safe sounding IEM that has the dynamic driver flavor embedded in it. For the price, the level of technicalities is actually really good. Bass. There is quite a good bit of bass texture on the Q5, especially in the mid-bass section, where there is a good kick that does not really affect the mid-range too much. Sub-bass extension on the Q5 is rather decent, but not the defining aspect of the Q5. The real statement in the bass region of Q5 would be the mid-bass, as there is an ample thump to give the listener a good kick when the bass drops. In terms of details, it is decent for the price and has adequate texture and clarity. Resonance is quickly dampened and with quick decay, but still has a good kick. But this isn't what I consider to be a bass head IEM, but has enough for you to really enjoy the rumbliness. Midrange on the Q5 again is average. I won't say that this I won't say that these are very full sounding in the mid-range, nor are they thin either. Really quite an average performer. Female vocals lack the focus in the upper mid-range register where it can make it really magical when done right. Male vocals again is lacking a bit of an edge. It isn't formless, but I certainly do wish for them to have a bit more texture in the mid-range. On the grander scale of things, clarity in the mid-range is decent, making the Q5 very polite sounding. Treble, on the whole, I do find the extension on Q5 to be decent, but wish for it to have a little bit more extension as it will benefit the other frequency ranges with higher levels of clarity and definition. Treble by itself is sufficiently crispy with cymbals not being splashy or overbearing. I would still say that these are quite smooth sounding. Again, a very polite sound. Secretly though, I'm quite an adventurous person, so I think with a bit more treble energy, I would have liked a bit more separation between the notes and a bit more treble energy to liven things up a bit. Moving on to Soundstage, width and height, it's actually pretty decent, certainly not the widest nor the tallest sounding that I've heard in this price range. Think of it like a really small jazz club, where all the musicians are cramped up in one small little corner playing jazz, okay? They are not spread out, they do not have the wide staging, it's cramped in a corner. Depth and positioning, again, pretty average. Nothing really outstanding when it comes to depth and positioning. I really feel that it is okay. So comparisons, firstly in the price category you have earphones such as the 7Hz Sonus. So comparing the Q5 with that, the Q5 is kind of like the quiet kid in the playground that does its own thing happily, while the 7Hz, while the Sonus on the other hand is a bit more outgoing, that can be a little bit more fun to be around. The Q5 is less engaging in the treble region, a little bit more rounded sounding compared to the Sonus, which has better levels of sparkle and is generally a better all-rounder in my books. But if you're the type of person who likes to listen to IEMs for hours on end, the more relaxing nature of the Q5 would be great for you. Otherwise, the Sonus has better resolution and texture by comparison. Next, versus the Truthear's Project Red or Red. The Reds are more in line with how the Q5 sounds, but with lesser bass. The Q5s are quite a bit thumpier in the neither regions that will make people who like to twerk happy. The Q5 is also distinctly V-shaped, while the Zero Reds are tuned to the diffuse Hammond-esque tuning. I wish for both of these IEMs to have a bit more treble energy for just a little bit more air and spaciousness. Technicalities on both these IEMs are really similar between the two. If you like more bass, go with the Q5. If you like more Hammond, then go with the Reds. And finally, in conclusion, the Q5s are quite an enjoyable IEM, although not exceptionally remarkable. They are a good buy if you are a little bit more treble sensitive. Although I did not compare them to the Truthear's Hexa, these are more dynamic sounding by comparison as well. They are kind of similar but not exactly. Truthear's is a bit more less dynamic, but you know, both of them don't really have the treble to reach into the high regions. For those of you who do not have an easy to use IEM that you can use for long hours, I think this is a rather good one, as it's just so easy to like this earphones. It's very, very smooth and I can use them on hours on end. It doesn't have upper mid-range peak that for some people can be a bit much. This does not have that, and overall it's a very smooth texture with good enough technicalities. And with that said, if you like the content so far, please kindly press the like and subscribe button somewhere down below. Help me out a bunch. Yeah, I am going on a trip again this week, so I'm hoping to be able to film next week's video. This was done one day before I fly. Thanks so much for watching. See you.